All right, and good evening. Hopefully, you're having a great day. It's just me tonight. Karen is another engagement, so you just have to put up with me tonight. Sorry about that, but hopefully, we'll have some fun. Hopefully, you had a great weekend. I know that we had a great weekend. I'll talk to you a little bit about that in a second. But before I do that, we are sponsoring ourselves for these videos because we are selling popping corks and things for fishing rig holders. You can get all those things in our store, which is wegofishing-shop.fourthwall.com. The link is in the description of this video. Thank you for those of you that have ordered. And we took these popping corks out this weekend. We did awesome with them. I just absolutely tore up the trout. We have two different styles of popping corks that we are selling. This one is the Rattler edition. And it's made with a 60-pound mono, and you see the beads there and the weights for fishing. So that's one of the ones that we are selling. And the other is more of a classic style, something like that, and that has the classic metal rod in the middle. And so they feature the cup. I don't know if you can see that in the light, but they have a cup there on the top of it, that bevel, on both styles, and the hope is there that it makes a splashing sound like a trout or a fish popping on the surface, and that's kind of the idea there. Also, we have fishing rig holders for sale, and you can get those from Fourth Wall in that shop there. Again, hope you had an awesome weekend. For us, we went fishing, and we had a multi-species day. It was absolutely incredible. Matter of fact, let me know if you're here in the comments. I would love to know who's here and who's with us. But we went out as a family. We took the boat out, and we caught a load of speckled trout. We caught them on the popping corks. Just absolutely tore them up. I think we caught at least 30 trout. Of course, a lot of them were not of size, but at the same time, we caught a whole bunch of them. Caught redfish. We caught ladyfish. We caught gaff top. Then we caught even an alligator gar showed up to the party. Pictures are posted there, so you can check that out. But in any case, we had an absolute blast, and I hope you guys were able to get out there as well, go do something active outside. Let me know in the comments also what you did this weekend and how maybe what plans you did, or maybe you got something coming up that you want to let us know about. That we'd love to feature that as well. The reason why we are here, though, was to talk about some things that are going on, and hopefully, there was this story that came out some time ago, if you'll remember. There was a story came out about orcas ramming boats in the Atlantic Ocean. And it was a new phenomenon. They couldn't figure out what was going on. Well, I did some research, and I found a follow-up to the article that just came out in August to give a follow-up, some more information about what's going on with these orcas. So I thought we could talk a little about that, and then I have a question that a person gave about speckled trout and how to rig up and catch more speckled trout. So we're going to try and do that as well. So let's get right into it. Let's get right into the story that we're looking at tonight. Scientists have, let me put it up here on the screen. Here we go. Let's do it that way. Scientists have a new theory about why orcas are attacking boats. So again, if you remember, they couldn't figure out what's going on. Why all of a sudden an orca is attacking boats? What's going on here? And why is it happening? And this article is courtesy of the New York Times. And the article reads this way. It says, the orcas have struck again, this time ramming a sailboat off of Spain's northwest coast, rescue workers said on Tuesday. A pod of orcas damaged the rudder of a sailboat, leaving a two-person crew stranded in the waters off Cape, and I guess that'd be Finistre. I'm not French, so I don't know, or Spanish. If Karen was here, she'd probably pronounce it better. Let's see. But Sunday, according to an emailed statement from the rescue workers, it's the latest in a string of attacks by pods of orcas swimming around the Iberian Peninsula. While the sailboat, the Amidala, did not sink, which that's good, the pod of orcas have sunk several vessels in recent years. Researchers don't know whether the attacks are playful or malicious, but a new theory based on studying the troublesome pods of orcas suggests they could be using the boats as practice targets for new hunting techniques. Other competing theories still exist. And while I'm reading this and kind of going through this with you, let me know what you think about this as well. Why do you think the orcas are doing this? What's in your mind? It's one of these things that's a new phenomenon. They're trying to figure out what's going on with it. The article that we're going to look at, it gives a suggestion as to what's going on. But there's a lot of question as to what's happening. So in any case, these orcas, and they can get rather large. It says, regardless of the orca's intentions, the behavior is enough to worry sailors journeying the highly trafficked waters, and this is where they're finding the strikes, because this isn't happening everywhere. There are a lot of orcas in different parts of our oceans, but this is really targeting a specific area, which is also very interesting as to why it's happening there. And so they're targeting the waters of North Africa, Spain, and Portugal. So right there at the corner, the Mediterranean, if you know anything about geography, you have the Atlantic Ocean, then you have the Mediterranean, then you have the African coastline. And that's where these orcas have really been active in attacking these ships. And of course, that's a major shipping lane. So that's going to cause its own problem. The Amidala was manned by a crew of 2 Belgians and it counted an unknown number of orcas on Sunday afternoon. They sent a Mayday distress call to the Maritime Rescue Center, which towed the vessel back to shore. And one of the things that we're noticing in the activity of these orcas is that it's damaged. They're going for the rudders. They're going to disable the ship. Which again, that's an interesting thing. They're not like flopping on it. They're ramming it sometimes, but they're purposely damaging it to disable it. And it says the sailboat's damaged rudder and poor weather conditions in the area made the rescue more arduous, with waves reaching nearly 10 feet and winds hitting a speed of 40 miles an hour. So that's crazy. I don't even know why this boat was actually out there, because I know if it was me, I would definitely not be out there sailing in 10-foot waves, 40-mile-an-hour winds. That's just absolutely insane. Some people like the extreme stuff, though. Not me. If it's over 2-foot waves, I don't like to go out. Anyway, the female crew member aboard the Amidala suffered injuries to her hand as the sailboat was being towed, and she was transferred to a rescue vehicle. The rescue center said, and after more than 4 hours, the Amidala made it back to shore. Okay, so that was this incident. That was the latest incident. But now they're going to get into why this is happening and theories that are surrounding these orca incidents. And again, let me know what you think. Why are these orcas doing it? Love to hear from you as to what you think here. In recent years, sailors have shared tips about how to stop them, or at least deter them. So they're trying to figure out, hey, how can we prevent these attacks from happening? Some of them have started painting their hull colors a different color. That seems to have had some success. I thought this was interesting. Another tactic was to blast heavy metal music at them. Maybe they don't like the heavy metal music. I'd like to know which bands. That would be an interesting thing. Like, what bands are they using to blast at these orcas to where they're like, oh, that music's awful, I'm out of here. That would be interesting. I'd love to know that. They said heavy metal music, but I'd love to know which ones it is. Another is to scatter sand in the ocean. Now, I have no idea why that would work. Maybe they just don't like the feel, or maybe, I don't know, maybe they're getting pelted with sand is a bad thing. And of course, now that we're in the land of technology, there is also an app that's tracking the orca's activities in the ocean, and so people can avoid those areas. Again, I don't know how they're doing that. Maybe they got spotter boats out there. I don't think there's any tracking on the actual orcas, but well, that's what they're doing. All right, so for the reasons, why is this happening? This is what we're all talking about. Why is this happening? What is this animal behavior and what's going on here? So this is what it says. Researchers really don't know. Well, because you can't really ask them. You can't go up to the orca and be like, hey, why are you ramming the boats? Stop ramming the boats. You can't really do that. So they have no definitive explanation as to why. But one theory suggests that the ramming stems from past traumatic encounters between orcas and boats. Now, that we've heard before. If you've been following this story, you'll remember when we first covered it, that was what they said. They said maybe the matriarch of the pod had suffered some sort of trauma, and in suffering that trauma, she was teaching the other orcas how to bring harm to the ships. And so that was one theory, and that one's been out there for a little while. Some scientists think, though, that it might be simpler than that. As naturally curious and playful animals, orcas might be just having some fun. That would make them evil. if the orcas are kind of like, hey, let's have a good time. What are you doing this Friday night? Oh, I don't know. What are you doing this Friday night? Well, I'm gonna go ram some boats. How about you? It's like cow tipping or something to them. Maybe that's what they're doing. Maybe this is just a form of animal behavior, or messing with the humans. Go cow tipping. Anyway, here's the new theory, and I find this interesting. The theory comes from bottlenose dolphin research in Spain that has also been tracking the orca ship ramming since 2020. It has found that orca pods off the coast of Spain, who migrate the waters between North Africa and the Iberian Peninsula, have developed a taste of Atlantic bluefin tuna. According to the paper, the Institute will publish next month. So, this researchers, they're saying the orcas, their normal diet was one thing, but now their diet has changed, and now they've developed a taste for Atlantic bluefin tuna. And you say, why is that important? What's the significance of developing a taste for that particular tuna? Well, this is what it is. It says that species of tuna can grow up to 10 feet long, which that's a big fish, a 10-foot long tuna, and can move at speeds that the orcas can't always catch, at least not without training. Bruno Diaz-Lopez, the Institute chief's biologist. Sailboats are often the ideal size to train on. They move quickly and silently close to the water's surface, not unlike the orca's prey. So if you're with me and you're paying attention to this, it starts to make sense on what's going on here. The sailboats are like target dummies, and they're using them as training to attack and disable their favorite prey species now, this tuna. And so they're using the targeting for the sailboats. They're going about the same speeds and also close to the surface. So they're training themselves. They're basically saying, hey, we want the tuna. And being that we want the tuna, how can we better equip ourselves to do that? I think it's very interesting. What do you think? I don't know. I think it's interesting. Researchers studying the ramming incidents have found that most young orcas who go after sailboats, but sometimes adults appear to be teaching the younger members of the pod how to do so. So the older ones teaching the younger ones how to go after this prey. And so I was thinking about that, and I was like, that's very normal for animal behavior. For the parent of the species to teach the younger ones how to hunt and how to go after things. So how is an orca going to do that in the wild? Well, they're going to use something that's a little bit easier for the young ones to catch, so that they learn how to catch the things that they're actually going to go for in the prey. Again, I find that fascinating that they've adapted themselves in this way. It's too bad for the sailboats, but still. It says, the orcas have figured out that the rudder is soft enough to bite and that fiberglass makes for good ramming. So, according to Mr. Diaz-Lopez, the sailboats have become a training toy for the orcas. What do you think about that? I think that's so wild, because it does fit in very much with animal behavior, where if they have to teach their young to hunt, they have to teach their young how to get out there and get the prey. And so what are they going to use? Well, they're going to use something that's not threatening, because the sailboats aren't fighting back, and easier for them to deal with because the fiberglass is not going to hurt them, and the rudder, they can rip it off, just like the tail of a fish, to disable that fish. So I thought that was very interesting, and thanks to the New York Times for following up on that story and kind of giving us more to think of, because this is absolutely fascinating to me, that humans think that we've got a monopoly on the intelligence, and here these orcas are saying, we're going to teach our young how to go after this new prey, and we need to train them to do this, and what are the techniques that we're going to employ to do that. That is just a fascinating amount of learning for these mammals, for these orcas. So what do you think about that? You think it's a probable theory? Do you think that's what's going on there? Do you think the older orcas are teaching the younger ones how to hunt after their bluefin tuna and how to disable them and ram them and stun them so that they can eat them? I don't know. I thought it was very, very interesting. But that's just, I want to know what you think. I want to know if you think that's a thing. And Karen did join us. She joined us in the chat. All right. Well, welcome, Karen. Hopefully you're having a good time wherever you are. All right, so that's courtesy of the New York Times. But again, I just thought that article was very interesting, trying to explain why the orcas are attacking, and I think that's as good of an explanation as any that I've heard of so far. Again, there have been many other theories as to why these orcas are doing this, but I think this is very interesting that the older orcas are teaching the younger orcas how to hunt, and they're using the sailboats as the training instrument for the younger ones. Anyway, let me know what you think. Let me see if these scientists are way off base or not. All right, having done that, we'll go to our second part of this live show, this podcast, where we're going to talk about some techniques to help you catch more speckled trout. Let me go ahead and share this screen with you. Let's get this up. There we go, and there. All right, so here's what we've got. This comes courtesy, and I'll put this up as a banner so you can see this as well. This comes courtesy of the Premier Fishing and Hunting Discord server. The link there is in the description as well. Join us there. We've got all kinds of different channels. There's photo contests. We've got personal best fishing questions, just all kinds of things. A great server, great community. People that are very experienced hop in there to try and help those that are lesser experienced. So it's a great server, great for people that want to know more about how to fish. And this comes from some fisherman. He wrote this just a few days ago. He said, "Any tips to catch spotted sea trout in Florida? I fish in the Florida Keys, so any tips or lures I need to have." And of course, we do our fishing here in Texas. We do target sea trout quite often. We call them speckled trout, spotted sea trout. They're related, or if not the same species. Maybe they get a little bit bigger for the spotted sea trout. I'm not sure. But in any case, tips and lures. And again, I've fished some in Florida. We have caught trout in Florida, and it was very similar to what we do here in Texas. So if you know any tips and tricks for this, put that in the comments below, and I'll tell you some of my best things that we use when we are going right after this fish, because this is a target species for us. Matter of fact, just this weekend we were out there and we got, Karen helped me out, but we probably threw back at least 30 trout. So this is something that is definitely in our wheelhouse to do. And I think in the Texas fisheries versus Florida, I'm not really sure how they stack up, but I know I do see the Salt Strong guys catching trout all the time as well. The first thing that I'm going to say for tips or lures is the popping corks. And again, these are our popping corks. These are the ones that we sell in our store. These work on trout, and part of the reason why is the cupping of the actual popping cork. It's got a cup here, and the idea is it creates a sound on the surface, and you can hear that rattle as well, because trout are very aggressive. So you're making noise to get their attention. Not too much noise to scare them, but enough noise to get their attention. And so a popping cork simulates a mouth hitting the water, or even shrimp popping on the surface of the water. And so you're trying to get their attention so they come over, investigate it, and eat it, because they are a very aggressive fish. And whether it's the classic style or rattler style, those are two definite good ways to get on trout. You can pair them with shrimp. You can pair them with lures. You can pair them with different things. A lot of guys use paddle tails and gulps underneath of them. That works out well. So there's many ways to rig those corks so that they will attract the trout. But that's something I definitely would say. Get yourself a good popping cork. I'm kind of particular for ours, but that's a great way for trout fishing. Another way, and this sometimes this gets a rap from people. Some people don't like it because they call them croaker soakers. But you know, whatever. The problem with croaker fishing is they tend to swallow it, and when they swallow it, you do have more of them that do not survive it. But one of the things that I learned to use if I was using croaker or something like something along those lines is a rattle weight. Okay, it looks like this. You can see it there. It makes a little rattle. The idea is, again, you're trying to get that trout's attention. And so you pop the line, the croaker starts croaking, the rattle starts getting their attention, and the trout comes over to investigate what's going on and eat your bait. So I would say that's another thing that I would look into, especially if you're targeting specifically trout. I don't use these with redfish or flounder. I haven't had any success with them. Now, if you have had success with them for trout, for redfish and flounder, let me know that. But if you hook a live croaker on them, maybe a mud minnow, something like that, these rattle weights, chatter weights, they do work pretty good. Another thing that I would say, get yourself a good paddle tail. If you are targeting, these are made by the Salt Strong guys. This is called their Slam Shady. It's about I think it's a 3.5 inch paddle tail. You can put this underneath a popping cork. You can put it on a jig head. Make sure that you are matching the right color for the water. That really does matter. If you're fishing water that's muddy or not as clear, a white or something with a chartreuse tail tends to work a little bit better. If you're fishing very clear water, you're going to want to use probably something more natural looking. So I know the Florida Keys, the water's very clear, and so you're probably going to want to use either something like this or you can definitely use something that would be a natural type presentation, not with all the flashy colors. At least that's my understanding of fishing clear water. We don't have any clear water around here, so I don't get to fish that all that often. The water we get around here is pretty muddy, pretty churned up, and so we're definitely going for things that make that shadow and have a little bit of a chartreuse tail to stand out. But there's a good paddle tail. They always say match the hatch. So if you have paddle tails of a couple different sizes, maybe one smaller, maybe one bigger, that'll definitely help you get some more hookups as well. One of the things that some people do not use, but I think it's wonderful, especially targeting trout, called lost trout on Gulps. This is a swimming mullet style. And they absolutely do work. You can put them on a jig head, you can put them on a Texas weedless rig, you can put them on a slip rig. There are so many different ways to rig these so that they work, but they absolutely do work. You can put them on the popping corks. And so I would definitely say Gulps. Now, again, some people don't like that because they say, oh, that's like cheating. I don't know why. If you're using live baits versus using Gulps, I don't know why people don't like them. They do smell. One of the things that you want to know is if you open up the package, it has that juice in there, and that juice is pungent. So do not let that juice get on anything else because you will absolutely stink up everything. That's free advice there. This says it's an easy open zipper pack. I don't keep my Gulps in this. I bought a screw top to keep that because that juice will absolutely stink up everything. The last tip I can give you for catching spotted sea trout, and like I said, we've caught a bunch of them. We've caught them on cut bait. We've caught them in the Gulf of Mexico. We've caught them just about everywhere. So these are things that are very familiar to us. But this is going to sound goofy because you're going to see this and you're going to be like, really, that works? It works. It absolutely works. And some of you know what I'm talking about, this speckled trout rig. Walmart special, like $1, $2, something like that. It's just a bucktail on a weighted head. These things work very well. I don't know why the trout love them. I mean, this one's a white color. They sell them in different colors. They sell them with some with trailers. But these absolutely do work, especially if you're fishing underneath lights at night. Throwing that out there and just jigging it. Just jigging it. I've caught flounder on them. I've caught reds on them, and definitely caught trout on them as well. But they absolutely do work, and they are cheap. They come in a pack like this, and I want to say they're like $2 at Walmart. But they absolutely do work. They've been around forever, and so I would say pick up some of those. So that's some tips. That's some lures and things that we use when we're targeting really the inshore species: redfish, trout, flounder. That's our main targets. Black drum as well. Anything that I just listed will catch any of those fish. But those are the things I would say, the tips to catching spotted trout. Now in the Florida Keys, I don't know if they use croaker to go after trout. In some places you can't use certain baits, so make sure that you know your local regulations and that you're fishing properly according to your local regulations, which are published. In Florida has theirs, Texas has theirs, all the Gulf coasts have theirs. Things are a little bit different in Louisiana even than they are here in Texas. But if I was going out for the first time and I was targeting inshore species, I would get myself a popping cork with live shrimp. That's what I would do. Are you going to catch other things that are not trout? Yeah, that you are. You're definitely going to catch other things, but at the same time, you're definitely going to get on trout. The other thing that I would definitely, if I was going out for first time, jig head with gulps. That'd be the two biggest recommendations that I could give you to catch sea trout, pretty much anywhere. They're gonna work out just about the same way. So hopefully that's a help to you. Hopefully that will get you on some more fish if you're out there trying to get some tight lines. This weekend we went out with the kids and we used popping corks with live shrimp, and they absolutely tore them up. They just absolutely tore them up. We could not keep the trout off of the lines, which was a great problem to have, is when you can't keep the trout off your lines. But anyway, hopefully that helps some fishermen there in Florida get on some fish. I would also say, because you were in Florida, I would also say check out the Salt Strong guys. I'm not sponsored by them. I'm not, I don't get any kickbacks from them or anything like that. But at the same time, they do have a lot of good information. They are based in Florida. That's where they got their start. And they put out a lot of videos as well on things that you can do, techniques you can use to target the inshore species there in Florida. When we went out, Karen and I went out in Florida, we were maybe 2 years ago, I think. Maybe longer than that, we went out. We were actually trying to target snook because we don't get a lot of snook over here in Texas. There are some down in the southern parts around Padre, but we definitely don't get the big ones like do in Florida. And so we were going out for snook. Now, we did not get any. We did get trout. We did get flounder. We didn't get any redfish, I don't think. We did get some jacks as well. But trout were definitely there, and it was the same fishing techniques that we would use for those other inshore species. So if that helps you, if you have any questions to follow up with that, please let me know. I'll be on the Discord server, and I'll post this in there for you. And if you have any questions that I can help with that, please let me know that as well. And if you have any tips or tricks specifically for trout fishing, that you want to let this guy know, put that in the comments, because everything that we can do to help out each other get some more tight lines, I think, is a very good thing. All right, this is a little bit of a shorter episode. That's because Karen is not beside me, and so talking to myself and talking to a camera is actually harder than it looks. Maybe I made it look hard. I'm not really sure, but it is a hard thing to do. Hopefully you'll have a great week this week. Hopefully you'll be out there. You'll be able to get some things done and make some great weekend plans. Get out there, get some tight lines with your family. Get out there and get on some fish, and hopefully that will be in your future. And until next time, may the fish be with you.